When ambition turns to arson, when community meetings mass conspiracy, and when a lone farmer stands between suburban greed and his family's future, you're about to witness a 3-month battle that began with burning corn and ended in criminal charges, courtroom showdowns, and a community uprising. This story has sabotage, false reports, private investigators, secret recordings, and an explosive arson plot, all caught on camera by a third-generation Ohio corn farmer fighting to save his land and his daughter's college dreams. Like and subscribe for more. My name is Charlie Fieldstone. I run 8 acres of corn on land my grandfather bought in 1953 for $300 and a handshake. Clouds of tassels, late summer sunsets, and the promise of tuition money for my twin girls. Sarah wants veterinary school, Emma is bound for engineering. We're all born in these fields. But 3 weeks ago, Brenda Hartwell, our HOA president and part-time realtor, tossed gasoline on that legacy, literally, and set my corn ablaze. It was late July. Firelight danced across 3 acres of stalks, the smell of burning husks choking the night. 3 acres gone, $30,000 of college funds turning to ash. I watched Brenda strut along the fence line with her phone dragging live footage to Facebook. "Farming is so antiquated," she crowed. "This neighborhood needs something modern." Her smug grin vanished only when the fire trucks arrived, just as I'd timed them. What would you do if your neighbor torched your children's future for likes? Let me back up. I'm Charlie, third-generation farmer, married to Denise, a third-grade teacher. Sarah and Emma are 18. Their tuition comes from every bushel I sell. My corn harvest is our lifeline. But 3 years ago, Brenda Hartwell moved into the biggest house on Whispering Oaks Estates. Vinyl siding, fake shutters, a garage larger than my barn. Her backyard edged my grandfather's weathered oak fence. Last spring, she knocked on my door with a clipboard. "Some residents say your tractor hurts property values," she purred. "As HOA president, I must ask you to remove it from view." My 1960 John Deere had sat there for decades. "This is a working farm," I told her. She smiled like a cobra. A good neighbor considers others. She left as my rooster. Hannibal's crow echoed. 2 days later, I heard her on the phone by the fence with some suit from Midwest Development Corporation. 8 acres of luxury townhomes, she said. Vacant possession in 6 months. Farmers cave under pressure. I slipped back behind the tool shed, heart pounding, bark rough under my palm. That night I called Jake Cornfield, agricultural lawyer and old Army buddy. "Charlie, document everything," he said. "Farm harassment goes both ways." When I hung up, Denise brought me 2 cold beers. I stared at the corn stalks rustling like ghosts. "We're about to find out how far she'll go," I told her. Next morning, 3 cuts in my irrigation hose. Feeble, but in July heat, it's economic warfare. I spent hours splicing rubber in a 100-degree fury. Then came complaints to the fire marshal. Fire Marshal Dave Peterson turned up with a folder of photos showing smoke rising from what looked like my back 40. It was actually my neighbor Tom Henderson's controlled burn 3 miles away, shot to frame my field. Dave inspected my permits, fire breaks, water trucks. Everything was military-grade perfect. He shook his head. "Someone's building a paper trail against you." I nodded. I installed a trail camera on the shed. That night, my fuel tank reeked of diesel, just a puddle, but the message was clear. By midweek, I'd found Brenda's real estate listings promising pending zoning changes that didn't exist. Misrepresenting zoning can cost an agent her license. I printed it all out. Thursday, Harold Grayson shuffled up my drive. Harold, 75, retired postal worker, neighbor from before the McMansions. He confessed Brenda offered him $500 to report safety violations on my farm, violations that didn't exist. His late wife Helen used to love watching my grandfather work these fields. "She's trying to destroy something beautiful," he said. He became my inside man. By Friday, I had photos of slashed hoses, diesel, false fire reports, screenshots of her listings, and Harold's eyewitness account of bribery. I filed a complaint with the Ohio Division of Real Estate. The investigator called me back within hours. Brenda wasn't the first agent they'd tracked for that scam. That weekend, I mounted more cameras, researched agricultural protection laws, and plotted my counterstrike. Sunday, Harold warned of a war council at Brenda's house, 4 cars, hushed voices. I watched shadows sliding behind her curtains. Let's see her commit felonies on schedule. Monday, Janet Kowalski from the so-called safety committee pulled up in a Lexus and photographed my barn. Safety concerns, she said, rattling off a script about fuel tanks and compost piles. My fuel was further from her house than her BBQ grill. My compost complied with every rule. She left red-faced, a pawn in Brenda's game. All week, new committee members took turns. Martin Cruz fussing about dust, Susan Walsh complaining about Hannibal's crowing, then demands for privacy fencing. Each time I pointed out my farm predated their HOA by decades, none cared. By Wednesday, Harold revealed they were being paid $50 per violation reported. Organized fraud. I dove into public records. Cruz had a pattern of insurance fraud claims. Walsh lost her real estate license. Kowalski's husband had bankruptcies and DUIs. Brenda recruited criminals, but she'd underestimated Harold. Late Wednesday, he slipped me a newspaper ad recruiting a professional documentation specialist. The private investigator, Rick Polson, was scheduled to manufacture evidence. They planned chemical spills, noise complaints, anything to frame me. I called Jake. Conspiracy to file false government reports is federal fraud, he said. Thursday morning, I found a strip of corn along the eastern fence line turned chemically, burned brown. The camera over that spot caught Brenda Hartwell at 2:47 a.m., spraying herbicide through the mesh fence, her face lit by infrared. She even loaded the empty bottle into her Mercedes, her license plate clear as day. 3 hours later at Tractor Supply, store cameras picked her buying 2 gallons of Roundup concentrate by cash under the sodium lights. Crop destruction is a felony, up to 5 years. I had her cold. That night, Harold whispered she was desperate. Her broker contract with Midwest Development promised a $168,000 commission if she delivered my land by October 1st. Penalty clauses of $50,000 if it failed. She'd borrowed against that money, bought a new Mercedes, paid for her daughter's wedding. She was trapped. I filed an agricultural conservation easement the next morning, $500, 30 days to protect the land from development forever. Even if I sold, no developer could touch it. I kept it secret. That same day, a county truck rolled in, Water Inspector Carol Hriss in tow, brandishing charts showing my well pumping 3 times normal rates. The data was fabricated. She warned me to get my own test. Without irrigation, my corn would die. That evening, I hired a hydrologist, $400, to prove my usage was 40% below average. The county numbers vanished. Sunday Heraldry delivered final intel. Brenda bought 3 gallons of camping fuel by cash, sunglasses, and cap from the outdoor store. He'd paused nearby to record her on his dash cam. I downloaded security feeds into numbered folders. With 8 weeks until her deadline, Brenda sank deeper into crime. Next, sugar in my gas tank. Premier sabotage, no engine damage, just grit in the fuel filters. The camera caught her at 3 a.m., her face in stark focus under the warehouse light. Then the hydraulic line nicking on my corn picker and lug nuts loosened on my trailer, enough to wreck it at highway speeds if used. I kept building the case. When she tried to steal my irrigation pump motor at night, I laid in wait, called Deputy Rodriguez, and had them arrested in flagrante. Bolt cutters with her fingerprints, wheel tracks matching her SUV. Polson, her PI, was her accomplice. That became state and federal theft charges, RICO in sight. Brenda's spiral continued. 18 days before October 1st, Harold heard her plotting arson to force a sale. She'd researched volunteer fire department schedules, wind patterns, and planned to ignite during a training drill. I raced to hardware stores in 3 counties for fire pumps, retardant foam, chemical suppressants, paid cash everywhere. I enlisted Fire Chief Danny Morrison, another vet, to advise on evidence needed for arson charges. I installed thermal cameras, infrared sensors linked to my phone, and dispatch. Rodriguez placed patrols just outside my gate, visible but non-threatening. That Thursday at 11:47 p.m., the thermal array lit up. Brenda and Polson, cans in hand, moving along the fence, pouring accelerant. They whispered about making it look like equipment failure to scare me into selling. At 11:52, she struck a match. Flames exploded up my stalks like rocket fuel. Instant alerts went to the fire department, sheriff's dispatch, and my phone, GPS, live feed, response codes. Fire trucks arrived in 90 seconds. Brenda's face, ghost white, filled my night vision scope as Fire Chief Morrison stepped out front. "Ma'am, stay back. You're under arrest." The blaze became the highlight of the monthly city council meeting 2 miles away. Everyone was gathered to debate a proposed agricultural protection ordinance. Halfway through, the chief's radio crackled. "Fieldstone property arson in progress. Suspects in custody." Brenda, sitting 3 rows ahead of me, turned with a self-satisfied smirk, then froze as the second update came. Accelerant containers recovered. I rose and walked to the podium. "Mayor, council members," I began, my voice steady. "What occurred tonight was no random fire. It was the culmination of a 3-month conspiracy to defraud, intimidate, and destroy my family's farm so it could be developed. I laid out photos, recordings, financial records. I played Harold's tape of Brenda confirming her $2.8 million development deal and penalty clauses. Gasps rippled. "I filed a conservation easement 3 weeks ago," I said. "This land is now protected forever." Silence fell like dust. Harold stood. "I was inside her war council," he declared. "She bribed neighbors, hired criminals, and tonight tried to burn Charlie's crop." Rodriguez and deputies entered. Reporters scribbled. Residents murmured. Brenda's cheeks drained of color as handcuffs clicked. Then Jake Thornfield stepped forward. "Mrs. Hartwell, you face felony arson, conspiracy, real estate fraud, and RICO charges. Civil damages will exceed $500,000. Your assets are frozen, your license gone." Brenda collapsed in tears. 6 months later, I stand in these fields with Sarah and Emma planting spring corn. The college is funded, scholarship money from civil settlements, insurance, and real estate fraud restitutions. Emma's studying agricultural engineering. Sarah's on her way to vet school debt-free. Denise now works with Jake, helping farmers defend against harassment statewide. Harold volunteers teaching fraud prevention to seniors. The Fieldstone Agricultural Protection Act, named for our case, makes farmer harassment a felony across Ohio, and other states are following suit. We founded a scholarship fund for students in ag law and sustainable farming, and our Heritage Harvest Festival draws thousands each fall to celebrate farming roots, not strip malls. Walking these rows, the same oak fence overhead, I see more than corn. I see resilience, community, and the power of standing up to greed. To every farmer watching, never underestimate the value of heritage, the strength of evidence, and the solidarity of neighbors. Land is more than dirt, it's lifeblood. If you'd like more stories like these, please like and subscribe.